Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video. Today we'll go through some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press here in Spain over the last couple of days while I sit here outside and have a nice warm cup of coffee. Now, one of the reasons I'm outside today is because the weather is fantastic. It's about 12 degrees Celsius. The sun is shining, a little bit windy, bit of a cold wind blowing, so that's a bit of a downside. But apart from that, a fantastic day, and the weather has broken. Very stormy this week, but sunny conditions today, which is very, very good indeed. And the first story we're going to look at today relates to the weather here in Spain, especially when it comes to people from other European countries that come to a country like Spain, or the south of Spain, I should say, looking to work remotely in better weather conditions. As we can see here, young northern Europeans flock to Spain's Malaga to work remotely. The Spanish city of Malaga and its Costa del Sol surroundings are seeing a surge in people moving in from the rest of Europe as lifestyle and working habits change after the COVID-19 pandemic, according to two of Spain's largest home builders. Aedas Homes said its sales to foreigners in the Costa del Sol doubled last year, from 124 units sold in 2021 to 248 in 2022, while Naynor Homes SA said about 40% of young people taking on long-term rents in the city since they launched a rental division in 2020 were foreign. That compares with almost no international customers elsewhere in Spain. Malaga has been working to position itself as a tech hub that can attract foreign talent rather than just the gateway to the beaches and golf courses further south. The local government last year eliminated a wealth tax that obliges residents and non-residents to pay income tax on money held abroad. So there we go. As we can see from the headline, young northern Europeans flock to Spain's Malaga, working remotely, of course escaping those cold northern European temperatures, heading to a place like Malaga, where on any given day in the middle of winter it can be around 20-21 degrees Celsius. Probably even 18 degrees Celsius is a lot better than the conditions in some of those northern European countries, as I said before. For example, countries like the Netherlands, Germany, countries like that, where it can get very cold in the winter months. And Malaga trying to turn itself into a tech hub and getting away from that beach and golf course type of tourism which it has been famous for in the past. So we'll see if Malaga can indeed transition itself into a tech hub here in Spain, because let's be honest, it has all of the characteristics that people would like to have working remotely in that part of the world. Cheaper and, of course, as we said, fantastic weather. Now, the second piece of news we'll have a look at today relates to Spain's involvement in the war in Ukraine. And as we can see here, Ukraine demands tanks from Spain in the face of the government's silence and the rejection of Unidas Podemos. Ukraine is not only looking to Germany ahead of today's crucial NATO meeting held in Ramstein. It has also set its sights, among other countries, on Spain, which has been explicitly asked to send more weapons, including tanks, to confront Russia's offensive. However, after the government's first elusive response, disassociating itself from a hypothetical sending of armoured vehicles, the Ministry of Defence has remained silent and has avoided revealing the position that the Spanish delegation will defend at the summit on German soil. The government is aware, among other things, that this issue arouses strong resistance within the government coalition, with Podemos and Izquierda Unida radically opposed to taking on what was yesterday described as an escalation of war, and that if tanks are sent, a crisis is foreseeable. So an interesting article there that clearly highlights the divisions that we have currently in the Spanish coalition government. We've got the PSOE side of the government, which of course wants to be friends with countries like the United States and other European countries and send more weapons to Ukraine. But of course, on the other side of the coalition government, we have Podemos and Izquierda Unida, who, as we know, are anti-war. And we saw here that they say that there has been an escalation in the situation there in Ukraine, and of course don't want more weapons to be sent. And the central government, with elections this year, wants to avoid a new crisis at any cost in that coalition government. So we'll see what happens in the future regarding this. Now, the third article we're going to look at today relates to the recent VAT cuts on basic food items here in Spain. As we know, the central government slashed VAT from 4% down to 0% for basic foodstuffs and from 10% down to 5% for things like oil and pasta. But as we can read here, the VAT cut will save €60 for high incomes and only €22 for the poorest households, according to FEDEA. The Fundación de Estudios de Economía Aplicada has calculated that the average saving from the VAT reduction on certain foods, which came into effect on the 1st of January, will be €32.4 per household, but will rise to €60.7 for the 1% of families with the highest gross income. The savings from this measure will grow from €22.4 for the poorest households in the first 5% of gross income to €60.7 for those in the 1% with the highest gross income, according to FEDEA's calculations. The experts point out that although it is true that the reduction in the reduced and super reduced rates is a measure that favours people and households with lower incomes in relative terms, its cost is unnecessarily high because in absolute terms it benefits people and households with high incomes more, who surely do not need this help. So the VAT cuts here in Spain that came into effect on the 1st of January 2023 still making headlines because according to this article here, a €60 saving for rich families and only €22 for the poorest households. But of course we're talking about things in relative terms and things in absolute terms, and of course you have to be an expert to work out the difference between the two. But it is true, however, that people that do make a lot of money here in Spain do not need help when it comes to buying groceries, but people on lower incomes definitely do need the help. Now we'll leave the news there, only a brief news section today because I have more news coming up in tomorrow evening's live stream, so stay tuned for that. So we'll go straight into the comment section here. The first one here from Fanjan. Tourism, and I don't want to take away from those in those markets, however, tourism is the low-hanging fruit for politicians with an adverse effect on local culture due to the high prevalence of catering to foreigners. Yeah, Fanjan, thanks for the comment, and I would say that I agree with what you have written in your comment there. Tourism is the low-hanging fruit for politicians, and it has an adverse effect on the local culture due to the high prevalence of catering to foreigners. Absolutely true, and ask anybody who lives in one of the high tourist areas in this country, whether it be the Levante coast, whether it be Andalusia, the Canary Islands, the Balearic Islands, that doesn't work in the tourism sector. Of course, people that work in the tourism sector will have a different opinion, but people that don't work in the tourism sector will no doubt say, or I imagine they would say, that tourism can have a negative effect on the local culture, especially where tourism has become mass tourism. As we know, there are parts of Spain that swell in the summer months, foreign people coming in. We all know the areas, Benidorm to name one of the areas, which has a huge foreign population there. Well, there's a bit of a mix, but it would probably be 40-60, 40 foreign, 60 local. But it does have an influence on that city down there in Alicante and other cities, of course, as we know. And one of the big problems, as we saw in Mallorca, we're going to have a look at another comment in just a tick about Mallorca, is that house prices do rise because property turns into short-term rentals for tourists, and it makes it very difficult for locals to get into the property market, not only buying property, but also renting property too. But I would agree, as you said here, low-hanging fruit for politicians. It seems to be a very easy industry to get into. Spain has the characteristics for a perfect tourist country, or a perfect tourism country, let's say. The sun shines most of the year. The weather is good in the majority of the country. There's plenty of monuments if you want to come to a city. The beaches are good, the water is warm, and prices are relatively cheap compared to other countries. So Spain has all the characteristics to make it a perfect holiday or tourist destination. And as we can see, it does cause problems. Another comment here from Chris. In some towns in the Balearics, the residential properties are 40% non-resident owned, resulting in ghost towns in the winters, which have a social impact also, not to mention that property prices rise faster than the local population can afford, and rental prices rise too, and availability is impacted dramatically, especially in the summers. Something needs to be done. This is not sustainable and will lead to problems for the people living here. Yeah, Chris, thanks for the comment, and you're absolutely right, and I imagine that this is one of the main reasons why the Balearic Island government is talking about a ban on property sales for non-residents, not only foreigners, but just basically people that are not residents of the Balearic Islands, because as you say in your comment here, ghost towns are a problem, in the winter months especially, because people don't want to spend their winters in Mallorca, they only head down there for the summer months. Therefore, you get the ghost town effect. Property prices do rise, making it difficult for people to buy property, locals especially, that have low salaries, and also rent prices increase also because, as I mentioned before, the short-term rental effect, and a lot of people don't want to rent their properties out long-term. They prefer to get that short-term rental benefit through platforms like Airbnb, because there's always people coming through the Balearic Islands, whether it be Mallorca, Menorca, Ibiza, during those summer months, even before, starting in May and going all the way through to October. So you get a decent tourist season there and plenty of money to be made. And time will tell if the Balearic government goes through with their plan. Not sure if they will or not. Of course, they will have to get approval, I imagine, from the central government, because there will be a clash with the central government, because the central government encourages foreigners to buy property in this country through the Golden Visa scheme. 500,000 euros to invest, you get residency if you buy property, and that's what a lot of people do. So if the Balearic Islands puts a ban on foreign property sales or non-resident property sales, then I imagine they will have to get the okay from the central government. Another comment here from Kirk. Sorry if this has been addressed before, but why so much graffiti? I'm sure it's not everywhere, but I've seen what seems a lot in your driving videos. TIA, and thanks for your videos. Yeah, Kirk, thanks for the comment, and absolutely, graffiti is a huge problem here in Madrid. Obviously, yesterday when I was driving from one side of Madrid to the other, lots of graffiti featured in that video. Every wall, every bridge, every fence around Madrid is covered in graffiti. Nobody does anything about it, nobody cleans it, and if it is cleaned, the next day the graffiti is back again, because there's no punishment, I don't think, for graffiti artists. It's not attractive graffiti, it's tags and things like that. Graffiti clans leaving their mark all over the city, and I imagine that there are some powerful graffiti clans in this city. And as I said, the whole of the city, it doesn't matter where you go, on the infrastructure, the public infrastructure in this city, completely covered in graffiti. When it becomes a problem is when they start to graffiti your walls. For example, here, if somebody graffitied my front wall or the neighbour's wall here, which got graffitied last year, it becomes a problem, and that's when local councils start to crack down. But the central government and those central government infrastructures, for example, bridges, as I said before, covered in graffiti, and nothing ever gets done. Another comment here from Joe Blogs. What's that area of Madrid with the gated communities called? Yeah, Joe, thanks for the comment, and also related to the video that I did yesterday when I was on the other side of Madrid, showing how the other half of this city lives in one of these gated exclusive communities here, or urbanizaciones as they're called in Spanish, urbanizations. And the area that I was in yesterday, Joe, was an area called Boadilla del Monte. It wasn't the city of Boadilla, it was an exclusive area just off to the side of Boadilla called Monte Príncipe. Okay, it's a very exclusive area, difficult to get into if you don't have permission from somebody that lives there, or if you're going in to clean or do some home renovations or something, you can get in. But people like me, I just went to a school, had to drive around that neighborhood and work my way out. But it is a very exclusive area on the west side of Madrid, and all of the money in Madrid is on that west side. So whether it's Boadilla, Pozuelo, other areas around there, fantastic area to live for people that have lots of money. And a final comment here from Barry. I saw no caravans parked on the street near the gated community, Stuart. Yeah, Barry, thanks for the comment, and absolutely right. You will not find caravans parked in that area because it's very exclusive, and the residents there don't want dodgy caravans in their neighbourhood, especially like the ones that we have here at the top of the street. And as we know, recently one caught on fire, or was set on fire, and is still sitting there. Nobody's decided to take it away yet. But those communities are very exclusive, Barry, for high-level people that have high incomes, politicians, I imagine, business people, people that have done very well in life, people that have inherited money, maybe live in those areas. But very exclusive, Barry, and absolutely right, no caravans. But the irony is that here where I live, the council tax or the property tax is higher than in some of those areas. So go figure. Now on that note, I'm going to wrap this video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in tomorrow evening's live stream. Hope to see you there. Hasta luego. Adios.